All right. Okay, beautiful women, welcome. We are here for this training call with Tiffany Scott called How to Create Your In-Demand Brand and Master Your Message. Tiffany Scott has always been driven to deliver more effervescence, more initiative, and more success. Constantly pushing the edge of her comfort zone, she's a pioneer in the evolving world of branding and community building. The Australian native honed her skills working for powerhouse international brands and re-injecting life and vibrancy into a household name as iconic as Speedo. She has proved that there is no challenge too great, and it's all about attitude. Thoughts become things. Tiffany charters a new course into virgin territory. She is coming for you, along with a tidal wave of positivity, fun, and general good vibes. She's gearing up to teach you the secrets to branding success. Her strength is identifying and fostering the DNA of your business. That has become her superpower. You hold the key, but she is here to empower you to unlock it and take the next steps. She is a sisterhood advocate, ocean addict, and founder of You, Me, She Collective and Sister Suppers. The common factor is that everything she does is with soul. So we're just going to give her warm snaps and blow her kisses. Welcome, welcome, Tiffany. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. And let's see. Oh, there we go. The spotlight is yours, dear. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jessica, for having me. Thank you, lovely ladies, for being here. And for those of you that will watch this later, as Jessica introduced me, I am from Australia. I moved to the US around 5 years ago, coming up to 6, actually. It goes quickly. And from there, I was working for corporate Australia, and I wanted to come to the US and really spread my wings. I came and spent the summer in New York, which was amazing, had the time of my life. And then the universe was like, no, you need to be in LA, which was beautiful because as I declared, I am a self-confessed ocean addict. I love to be near the ocean and by the beach and surf and all those good things. So went to LA, and I'm actually now living in Austin, Texas. I moved here at the beginning of the year. I travel. I'm a real traveler. I love travel. I love being in new places, experiencing new people, and being in community. So what I'm going to share with you over the next 30 minutes is really what I have done throughout my career to create brand and brand message that comes from my corporate background. So working with big international brands like Speedo. I worked in the fashion and lifestyle arena for a long time as well, in the retail wholesale market. So I was having flashbacks over Cyber Monday and Black Friday and things like that over the last couple of days of like, oh, I remember those days. So, everything that I created through my corporate career, I have then helped women like yourselves and my own brand through the same essences. So really we get into our head that big corporations and big brands have got it easier because they've got more money and they can do the advertising. But at the core of what they do is at the core of what each and every one of us is doing and needs to continue to do and deepen into and strengthen into as we create our own brands. Because I really do believe that we're in the era of personal branding, right? We're in this space of a lot of service-based industries, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of women entrepreneurs, yay, the feminine rising. There's really good stuff happening there. And so a lot of women that I work with that I hear say, but I don't really want to be at the forefront of my brand, or actually I do, I just don't know how to clearly share what makes me unique and what makes me different. And the easiest thing I can say to you is that you're you, and that's enough. But that probably won't get you by just on that alone. So what I want to share with you, because we've got, a limited amount of time, is the core structure of how to create your brand and your brand message. And then definitely want to, if you've got questions along the way, then for sure, I don't know if there's a specific structure that you prefer, Jessica, but I love interaction. Or do you want to keep questions
Yeah.
to the end?
No, it's totally fine. If you want to weave them in throughout, that's completely fine. Or at the end, do a flurry. Either way.
I think we can do both. So if you've got questions along the way, then feel free to either it might be easier just to unmute yourself and ask. And then we'll definitely have time at the end as well. But I love interaction, and the more questions you ask, the more that I can support you, and you can support each other through those questions as well. The first thing I want to do is just, if you can, we just did a beautiful meditation, but if you can also just get into the space of allowing and trusting and knowing that in this virtual space that we're in, that we're actually really sitting in circle together. So it's not me up on a pedestal standing in front of you, that I'm literally sitting in circle with you and sharing my gift, my wisdom, my knowledge, my experience. And really giving that and passing that on to you, so you can be open and receive as much as you need to receive and embody the information that I'm going to share with you. Because this is my gift to you, and I'm happily just so joyful that Jessica's given me this opportunity to share it with you. So we are in circle. And in circle, we see each other, we feel each other. And at any time you have any questions or any insights, I would love for you to share that within the circle as well. So the first thing I want to share with you is, what actually is a brand? Like, what makes up a brand? And what I hear often is people think that branding and marketing are the same thing. And they're not. However, they're BFFs, right? They go hand in hand. They've got to walk along arm in arm together. Sometimes they'll have fallouts and they'll have arguments, but for the most part, they'll always kiss and make up and get back to where they need to be. And it's you really can't have one without the other. And what happens is most people will spend all their time on their marketing before they spend the time and investment on their brand. And what happens is their marketing won't work because then they haven't clearly established what their brand is. And so if you think about brand as being a magnet, right? So brand is the pull and marketing is the push, right? So marketing is over here saying, come and experience my service, come and experience my product, come and experience, whatever it is, whether it's a product or a service. It's saying, this is why you should come and experience it, because it's X, Y, Z. These are all the different ways that you can experience it. Isn't it pretty? Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it lovely? This is what you're going to receive from experiencing my product, my brand. And then brand stands over here, and it's all those things, right? It encompasses it. It is what it says it is. It's the beautiful colors, but it's really the essence is what brand is, right? So it's a brand. You know that you have a brand when people are talking about you, when they're gathering for you, when they're gathering with you. You know that you have a brand when you're really consistent in your message, when people are relaying that message back to you, when you have followers, when you have fans, when you have haters, right? But you're being talked about. So the best way to think about brand is think about the brands that you love. What do you love about them, right? So if you think about a brand like, I'm going to use one of the big ones, Apple, right? So Apple is a technology-based company. So, and if you think about the way that Apple actually advertises it, yes, it advertises the mechanics of it and what it can do and all those sorts of things. But over and above the technical and technological side of Apple, what the brand is an experience, and it's delivering an experience through its computers, through its phones, through its music, and so on and so forth. So a brand is actually the essence and the experience. The marketing is what shares with you how to experience that, what you can do to do that. So Apple's tagline is think differently. And what coincides with that is the man behind or beside or really in front of that brand, which is Steve Jobs. So whether you have a personal brand or you actually have a commodity or a product, that actually goes hand in hand. These days, you can't have one without the other. So as you think about you developing your brand, whether it's your own brand name or it's another brand, be with that brand, because you have developed that brand because of you, because of the colors, the simple things, because of the colors that you love, because of the difference that you want to see in the world, because of the way that you want to support people. Because the things that have influenced you in your life, they are all the makings of a brand. Now, the marketing is the things, the language that you use to say, hey, this is who I am. This is how I can support you. This is what makes me different and unique, right? This is why you want to come and work with me. This is why you want to come and experience my products, because I'm all these things. That's what your marketing is sharing and telling. So you use avenues like Facebook advertising and speaking and Google AdWords or whatever it is. Like, there's so many different ways that we can brand. But where through that marketing, what you want is to create that experience. So when people come and experience your brand, what all the things that your marketing has been saying, like all that push, is actually lives up to the brand experience, right? So what happens is often is people are talking about, I'm this and I'm that and I'm blah, 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 blah. But when people come and experience that brand, sometimes and often it's not living up to what the marketing has been saying it is. So you want to make sure that you're absolutely in integrity with what your marketing is saying and what your brand experience, what your brand essence actually is. So they're the differences, and that's why they're like this, right? They go really hand in hand. And one of the things that you can do that I'm going to take you through is the 5-step deepen into and elevate and create a really distinct, sustainable brand that will grow with you. And so I'm a visual person, so I'm going to write these down for you. So the first thing that you're going to deepen into for your brand is really connecting with your values. Values are super, super important and are the core foundation for everything that you do moving forward for your brand. And so if you think about when you're building your brand as a house or even as a tree, the roots, you have the foundation, right? You've got to have the foundation first. So as you grow the house and you build the pillars and you put the structure in place and you lay the bricks, or maybe it's it's wood or whatever it is, the foundation is rock solid. So as the house evolves and it ages and maybe the paint chips off, you still have a really rock solid foundation, because as you grow, your brand evolves. Like you can't, it's human nature. You're going to grow, you're going to evolve. Will your values evolve and change? Absolutely. But if you base them on your core values, you're going to have a rock solid foundation. So as you grow, those pillars won't fall down, right? As you grow a team or you grow your brand or your business or whatever it is, they deepen into the structure and the foundation of your values. And we have values for different things. So we have values for, we have overall life values. And then we have business values. We have values for our wealth. We have values for our health. We have values, family values. And so the work create when I've created and helped support other brands and other people. So this is way back in corporate Australia and corporate America for a while as well. And then the individuals that I work with too, is that really establishing what the brands are, the values are for the difference that you want to make through your business, right? Because ultimately, all of us here, and especially women that I'm seeing time and time again, we're creating a business because we want to make a difference, whether it's in our own lives, whether it's in the world, whether it's in our community, right? So you base and touch into the values around that. And the way that you can do this, I recommend that you do it with a partner, but you can do it on your own, is that you ask yourself the question, what do I value for the difference that I want to make through my business. And try and come up with values. So 1 word or maybe 2 to 3 word answers. So what will happen is consciously you'll come up with things like integrity, making a difference, offering value, being a leader, healing, like all these come up for you, right? And they're great. They're true. However, you want to go many layers deeper. And so what you want to do is, once you feel like you can't answer, you've run out of questions, is sit with it, close your eyes again and ask yourself the same question. What do I value about the difference I want to make through my business? And so you do that, and you'll probably be super surprised that you will have pages and pages of words that will come up for you. Now, you can do this on your own. I like to do it with a partner, because what will happen is they will probe you when you start to get into your thinking mind and help you get out of your thinking mind and into your heart space or your subconscious or your inner knowing, to really connect with those values that run really deep and are instilled within you. So I just did this with a client recently. She did it on her own. And what I love about this is when you read these values back out, when you sit with your pieces of paper and you look over your values and you vocalize them, it will bring you to tears. Every time. Because you get so deeply connected with what you value about what you do and why that's so unique to who you are. Right? So many people will have same values as you, but each of those values that you have is unique to who you are because of your unique experiences. So someone might have the same value, and I've done this hundreds of times now with people, and I never get tired of it, because I get to hear what integrity means for someone as a value that that will and often does has a total different meaning to someone else. It's unique every time because of their experience and the work that they're doing. It doesn't matter if you're doing the same work as someone else and you share the same values, great, but it's going to have different nuances to you. And so values are so important because they're running in the background of what we do, why we do it, who we spend time with, who we don't spend time with, all of those things. So as you deepen into your brand and your values, as you grow your business, so say you're hiring a virtual assistant or you're growing a team, one of the things that you can do is when you share your core values, and I'm going to share a little bit more about that in a minute, you share the values of your brand. This is why so many values, brands and businesses have value statements and core values. Is that if you're having a conversation with someone and you say, these are the values for my brand, and they lean in and their eyes light up, you know that they have a shared value system and they're a good fit. Now, there's going to be other things that will play into that as well. But ultimately, if you have a shared core value system and set, they're going to be a good fit for you, whether it's a joint venture partner, whatever it is. Now, if they don't lean in and their eyes don't light up and their kind of eyes glaze over and they're like, oh, that's nice, there you go. There's your answer right. Honestly, it's that simple. They're not the right fit for you. So values are really important. So from there, when you have like your at least 3 pages of values, what you do is you take a piece of paper, you take your pieces of paper so you can see them all out in front of you, and you close your eyes and you get centered and grounded, whatever that means for you to do, whether it's a little meditation or a grounding in exercise or putting some essential oils on your third eye, whatever that is. And close your eyes. And then when you open your eyes, you ask the question again, or when you've got your eyes closed still, I like to have my eyes closed. You ask the question again, what is the most important value for the work that I do? Now, when you open your eyes, you're going to look at all the values on your sheets of paper. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is you don't read them. You scan over them. You might go back to front, up and down. And your inner knowing will tell you what that value is. Now it's different. Again, I've done this hundreds of times. It's different for different people. So for me personally, when I've done this exercise, the word literally lifts off the page for me. That's what it looks like for me. For some people, they'll come across the value and they'll feel it in their body. I've seen people actually move their body as they announce it to me. For some people, it's just an inner knowing. For some people, they'll get huge resistance over a word. I guarantee you, if that happens to you, that will be your value. And it's probably, honestly, again, I've seen this happen many times. It'll be your most important value. You won't know it at the time, but it'll be the most important value for you. And so with that, I like to pick at least 4 core values. Normally we work in 3s, right? The rule of 3s. But what happened was I was doing this so many times that there was often a 4th, and it was often like the link to all the 3s. So now it's like 4. You can do 5 if you want. I would recommend not doing any more than 7. If 7's like your lucky number, don't do any more than 7. I think 4 is a really good sweet spot, because then what you're going to do is you're going to craft statements for those core values. That, again, remember, we're building the foundation for your house. You build statements. Now, the challenge with your statements is you create a statement that's 7 words or less, because words pack power, and the less words you have, the more meaning they'll have behind them. And you want to make that statement a we statement. So it's not an I statement, it's not a you statement, it's a we statement. And what I mean by that is when someone reads it, they know that it's what your values are and what the business of your values stand for, right? And then when they read it, they know it connects with their own value as well. So I could spend all day with you just on values, but I'm going to keep moving on it because there's some other things that I want to connect you with. But the value statement is the foundation for your brand, for everything that you do moving forward. So the next thing you want to create is your vision statement. And so you may have already done this, but I challenge you to do it again in 7 words or less. So your vision statement. And the way that you want to create your statement, and everything that I'm sharing with you is in order. You do it in this specific order. This is what I call the mind mirror method. It's a method that I created over years and years of doing this, where you really connect into your inner knowing, so you can share it, your greater wisdom, in a really clear, concise way with your people. So your vision statement, 7 words or less, and your vision statement is you want to make it big, right? Make it all inspiring. So it's the difference. So again, it goes back to your values, but the difference that you want to see in the world or see through the work that you do. So I think Charity Waters is I'm trying to think what it is off the top of my head. Charity has a great one. It's really simple. It's less than 7 words, and it's something along the lines of creating clean drinking water for everyone. That's not the exact words, but it's making a clean drinking water available for everyone on the planet. Something like that, right? So it's big, really big vision statement. You want to make it so it's scary, but it's that get up out of bed inspirational statement that makes you keep going and doing the work that you're doing, because you really want to see that difference. And it might not be in the world. It might be in your community. It might be in your family, whatever it feels big and awe-inspiring for you, for the difference that you want to see, right? So really inspiring. Then you want to, so for example, my vision statement is that all women are united in love, support, and celebration. Pretty big. Are we on track? It's happening. We're doing some good stuff, but we've got a long way to go. So all women united in love, support, and celebration. So then you want to create your mission statement, right? So your mission statement, that yellow is not great. I should go back to white. The mission statement supports your vision statement. So the mission statement is the tangible and actionable things that you will do to bring your vision to life. So the tangible and actionable things. Now that's still pretty big and it's all encompassing. So I shared that my vision statement is all women are supported in, all women are united in love, support, and celebration. And so my mission statement is to create communities where women can connect and love one another again. And I do that through sister suppers. So through sister suppers, through my mission of sister suppers, women open up their homes, they host a home-cooked meal, and we facilitate conscious and courageous conversations. So we're creating community from within women's homes, right? So vision statement, big and bold, inspiring, so it gets you up and out of bed every day for the difference that you want to see. And then your mission statement are the tangible things that you will do to bring your vision to life. Got it? I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions.
I wanted to just speak up about a couple of things. I love the order of these first three pieces, from the values, which is so important, and I don't hear this talked about enough. I remember reading this book called Built to Last. It was about these companies that had been around for like 200 years, and the companies that would survive the Great Depression, the crash, the this, the that, were companies that chose to stay in alignment with their values regardless of financial gain, etc. I mean, but they lasted, for some of them, for like over 100 years, like they're still around, because they didn't sell out, essentially. And I think as women entrepreneurs, I don't think that women are selling out, but I think that we do sometimes get a little pulled out of our center, or maybe there's nebulous about the values, or why am I doing this? It's just kind of like it feels right. You know, we're kind of going with that intuitive guidance, which is so important. But I think there have been so many things with Femme Talks that I have had to say no to, even though people were like, but you would make so much money, or you'd be so famous, or whatever. And it's like, that's not in alignment with the values or what's even nourishing to me. So I just really appreciate that you brought that piece in, because I do feel some nebulous about, I feel like it's helpful to clarify that, and certainly beneficial in terms of like long time sustainable business. And I also really love this whole, like, the visionary statement, the vision statement, the distinction between the mission statement and vision statement. I've always been a little confused about that. So I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. And I would love to see more vision statements made in the talks that women give at Femme Talks. That's a missing piece for me sometimes, that I've given in feedback or reflection. I'm like, why are, so that what big thing is this uniting us around? And there are women on this call too who are writing books, and it's like, so that what? Like your message is powerful, your stories are powerful, and then like, what is the big unifying thing? So I just really appreciate this. I feel like you're filling in some gaps that are sometimes a little loosey-goosey. So thank you so much. I would love to hear some other women's thoughts. I'd also love to see more women on video. I know it's not possible for everybody, but I know for me, when I've led training calls, it's a little hard when just looking out to a bunch of black screens. So even if you don't feel like your makeup is perfect or whatever, like if you can be on video, even if there's hubbub around you, I would love to encourage you ladies to turn your cameras on if you can. Any other thoughts before Tiffany gives us the final keys? Any other questions that might have arisen? Thoughts or questions for Tiffany? Well, I guess you're doing awesome, and you're
okay.
totally
good.
Oh, one person. Oh, okay. Yeah, Leah says it's been really concise and helpful.
Aww.
I totally agree. It's just like, yes, I actually
awesome.
Very timely for the holidays, because we can actually do some of these exercises over the holidays when we're just kind of gestating, well, what is it I want to create next in 2019 that is the bigger, deeper thing? I think these would be great, like a homework assignment, to do some of these journaling exercises that you're talking about. I'm going to take that on for sure.
Awesome.
I have a question. In my business, and I love the fact that you said your brand is going to evolve because you're growing. And I feel like I've been growing at a super fast rate, and it's hard to get a sense of identity when you're growing so quickly. And 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 I personally have so many interests of what I want to follow. Do you have I just want to speak to that and see if you had any thoughts around that. When you're growing so quickly, coming into your identity.
Yeah, that's a great question, and congratulations. That's awesome to hear. Because particularly as women, we're very multifaceted, right? We wear a lot of hats, and we're really dang good at it. So what I would really encourage you to do, I would love all of you to do this, and even partner up with each other if you can, is do this values exercise, because it will change your insight into who you are and ground you into what's most important for you as well, especially when you go through and pick out your 4 core values and then dive and deepen into why are those values important for me? Like, why have they come up? For the most part, some of you will be like, yep, that makes total sense. I get why I picked those 4. However, what's really common is people are like, wow, I had no idea I was going to pick those 4. And I didn't realize how profound, important they are until you go into the making your statement. So before you go into making your statements, and I love that, that Jessica was talking before about journaling, right? You want to really investigate your 4 core values. So journal on each value individually before you write your statement. Same with your vision and your mission statement as well. Journal on those too before you just try and start to come up with 7 words, because they won't mean anything. And when you're on the other side of coming up with those statements, honestly, I could do these exercises all day long, because the change and the light bulb that goes off inside of you, it's your truth. It's your truth. There's no denying it. So when you go through these exercises, it's that root, it's those roots into the ground. It's the foundation. It's the grounding that you need. So, going back to what you were saying, Dawn, is that it will just give you the clarity that you're looking for. So and again, I love that Jessica was talking about this, is that as we evolve as business owners, as we grow our businesses as people, as entrepreneurs, as women, we live in a time where there's so much available to us, right? We can do this and we can do that and we can do this. And to Jessica's point, this will keep you in alignment. And if you forget, it will bring you back into alignment, and you'll be like, oh. So I literally have all my clients print these out and put them where they can see them every single day to remind them, these are my values, because there's just no denying it. And this exercise, this mind mirror method exercise, and I'm teaching and sharing with you, is done in this order for a reason, so you can deepen into your own truth and know that these are not words that a marketing expert is telling you to use. They're your words. They're your truth. So what happens is when you have these 3 pages, I've done 5 pages, 7 pages before with clients, that becomes your marketing copywriting manual for your language, for your tone of voice, because it's unique to you. Are there words in there that other people will use? Absolutely. But when you combine all those words together in your own language, in your blogging or your marketing or your sales page, that's your voice right there. It's that simple. A lot of branding and marketing people are trying to teach you tricks or make it sound a lot harder than what it is. And it's really not that hard. We just get in our own way. Does that help, Dawn?
Great question. Yeah, that's a great question. I just want to say too, just real quick, and then we'll go back to Tiffany, that we have every few months we have a writing retreat. I don't put them in the meetup group because the number that we can have host here in my home is very small, but I'll be sending an email out. And I love the idea of maybe in the morning taking some time to do dyads and journaling, and for those of you that want to, and come together and actually do this exercise that she's talking about. And then you have the rest of the day to expound on that, to journal, to meditate. So I'll be sending an email about the writing retreat that you all have access to as part of your membership here. Yay, I'm gonna mute myself, Tiffany, and then we'd love to hear more.
Okay, I'm going to take you through two more key things that will really support you as well. And it's going back to what Jessica was talking to before, but like, and so what, right? And that's really your story. Story is so important. And I want to talk more specifically to what I call your soul story, your core story. But it's your origin story. Like, why do you do what you do? And share that. Like, each and every one of you have created a business, a way of being, because of something that you've experienced in your life that may have happened multiple times for you, or something big and profound for you as well. So when I started to create You, Me, She Collective and Sister Suppers, it was the calling to heal sister wounds and bring back together sisterhood, and why that was so important. And it was because as a kid growing up all the way into adulthood, I was bullied by other women. It followed me like the plague. And I never really understood why. And it's so prevalent for a lot of women, right? And so this started when I was 10 years old, where, and I know a lot of you can relate to this, where I would have a group of core girlfriends, of sisters, and then they would just turn against me. And I wouldn't know why. And it was like the deepest wound out of going through a divorce, out of, splitting up with boyfriends. Sister wounds are the deepest wounds that we have, that need healing, deep healing, that a lot of us are still moving through, that I continue to move through, even through all the work that I've done. And so that followed me for about 5 years into my early teenage years, until it got so bad, even with going to a new school, so going through, I think it's, I don't know the terminology here, but basically primary school to high school, right? So from year 6 or 7 to year 8. So going into high school and going into a group of, I went to an all-girls school, another group of girls, and still getting bullied. It followed me. And I was in this place of, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm not particularly smart. I'm not particularly pretty. I'm not particularly ugly. I'm not particularly anything, and adults would say to me, oh, they're just jealous of you. And I'd be like, no, that's not it. Like, jealous of what? There's something else going on here. I never figured it out until many, many years later. And then, I literally changed schools to escape that. And my then 3 years of school in a different school was great. However, I became very close with boys in the school because they felt safe to me. And then in my early adult years, it happened again. And then there was some time that passed, and then it happened again in my later adult years with women and bullying. But it's those wounds that help us turn into the warrior that we are. We turn our wounds into the soul work that we want to do. And so that formed my big why as to why it was so important for me to heal these wounds in myself and into sisterhood. So I created Sister Suppers, where women can come together in a safe place, in an environment where they can have conversation, where they can be seen, where they can be heard, in a small group of women, and reconnect with that spark, that kindling within them that they've always had, they just had pushed down. There's so many women I've heard say, but I'm afraid of other women. I don't know how to make friends easily. And that's not true, because that's innately within all of us. So your story is your power. We have to share that. We have to share that connection of why we do what we do. That's how people connect with you. That's why when you write your book, when you do your marketing, when you speak on stages, when you share your story, I can tell you now, when I get up and I speak on stages, and I do it many times, and I create workshops and share workshops similar to this, and I share my story, 9 times out of 10, people will come up to me and talk to me about my story, right? Not about the, you know, how yes, they love the brand stuff or the community building or whatever I'm teaching, but they come up to me afterwards and say, Tiffany, I can so relate to your story. This is what happened to me, right? So your story is the core and essence of what your brand is, of who you are. It's connected to your values. It's connected to your vision. It's connected to your mission. It's all connected. And so one of the things that women say to me is, well, I don't know what my story is, one, or the other thing is, I have so many stories, I don't know which one to share, right? And so this is another journaling exercise for you. If you don't know what your story is, start journaling. And it doesn't have to be in sequential order, but literally it can be 5 minutes a day, whatever it is. And with the clients I've said to do this, like, I hate journaling, I don't want to write my story. They end up writing pages, almost a book on their story, right? So you just start journaling about the first memory that comes up for you. And you journal about it for 5 or 10 minutes, longer if that happens. And then the next day, journal about the next memory that comes up for you and the next significant memory that comes up for you. And when you go back and you read or you remember what you've been journaling about, what happens is you start to connect all the dots. So when I started my business and when I went on my soul searching journey of like, what am I going to do with my life? I don't want to work for corporate America anymore. What's the difference that I want to make, right? I went and had conversations. I went and journaled. And I look back now and I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Because the conversations I was having and the things that I was journaling about was all about women supporting women, women connecting with women. How can I create a community for women? At one stage, I was going to create a co-working space for women. Another idea I had was creating it was literally, and so ironic, I wanted to create a women's only bar, right? Where they could feel safe, where they're not going to get hit on all the time. Like all these ideas that I had. And then I was like, oh, that makes sense now, right? Because I was continually working on healing my sister wounds. And I knew to do that, I needed to be in the presence of women. So your story is so profound and so important for the work that you do. So share it. And so as you do the journaling, you'll start to see the pieces of the puzzle come together, and you'll be able to weave your core story into that. And literally, if you're sharing your story, it can be 50 minutes long, it can be 5 minutes long, or it can be 5 seconds long. There's a bar called the Perfect Bar. I don't know if you know it. I'm obsessed with it. It's all organic, natural products. And I love the peanut butter flavor. You can go and get it at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. Anyway, they have a short story on the back. And it's basically one paragraph, and it talks about how their dad was always in the kitchen creating concoctions, trying to create the perfect bar. And then one day he produced this bar and he was like, it's perfect, right? So they called it the Perfect Bar, and now the tradition lives on with the family, and they continue to create all organic, naturally produced products. Quick short story like that, but it tugs on the heartstrings because you see dad in the kitchen, right? And then you love it because then the family are carrying on the tradition of the perfect bar. So it doesn't have to be overly long or profound. There's different stories and different lengths for different ways that you share it. So story, really important. And then the last thing I just want to share is around creating your brand. More than ever in this day and age when we live in such a virtual space, is be in community and create community. So you're already in community here, right? Jessica's done such an amazing job of creating community. She knows this more than better than anyone, or as much as all of us, how important community is and creating the sisterhood. So whether you want to create your own community, that's okay. great, go and do that. There's so many ways that you can do that, and that's a whole nother topic. But you're already learning it by being in this community on how to create community. And if you don't want to literally go and create a community, then be in community, because that's the best way that you can really continue to establish and grow your brand and get the support that you need for the evolution and growth of what you're doing. And within that, we get reminded that we don't have to do it alone. So community is such a great way to deepen into your why, deepen into your vision, deepen into your message, deepen into your marketing, because you keep getting reflections back to you. When you're in a really safe sisterhood like this too, you've got women you can lean on and say, you know, I'm working through my values right now, and there's just this thing that's really bothering me. Can you support me with it? Or how is this for a vision statement? Does this really work? What do you think? Is it clear? Right? Or I just signed on this new client, but I just realized she's not in alignment with my own value system. I don't know if I can work with her. I might have to fire her. Right? So all those things, that's all part of your brand. You are your brand. So, you know, Jessica has Femme Talks. It's a brand, but it's Jessica, right? It's who she is. It's the values. She started it because of her why, right? It's who she is. So it's not one without the other. It's one in the same. So that's it in a very short nutshell. There's a lot of other things that I can share with you, but they're the core main things that I definitely wanted to get out and share with you today. So I would love any more reflections or insights or questions to support any more of what I've shared.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. If you have a website or a link or something to type in, I'll include that with the video when it's posted, but I also imagine there might be women on the call who just want to connect with you more deeply or find out more about what you're creating. So any links. And then, ladies, let's open it up for questions. I think we're a small enough group that you can unmute yourself and just speak, but we'll take advantage of these last precious moments together. I think we're slated for another 15 minutes, I think. I should know the answer to that question. Oh, well, we're slated till 12:30, but we'll see where there's a natural tie-in. But yeah, I think we could definitely address some questions, comments, maybe massage some ideas by Tiffany. Christy, I see you raising your hand. Mute yourself. Christy?
Hi. Well, this is so in alignment with my values and what I'm doing and the work I'm doing in the world. In fact, I was just on the phone and I'm collaborating with a group of women because we're realizing that it is this core wound that women carry and all the conditioning to not join, to not connect. Because if we were all in a unified force together, we wouldn't have 13 million people on the edge of starvation right now in this present moment. We wouldn't have lost 85,000 babies last week to starvation, because we would be a unified voice to say, we want people to be nourished. We want a nurturing society. Even in Marin County, they closed the homeless shelter, and the homeless shelter is serving 80-year-old women who they wake them up at 4:00 in the morning so that they can shower them and feed them and have them leave the shelter at 6 in the morning because the building is utilized during the day. And they put these women through this horrendous thing, but they won't fund it. They won't fund an adequate homeless shelter. It's just, and then there's so many heartbreaking things, but I really feel like this is the core issue, that the wounding that women have had, and we've been taught to be competitive with each other rather than collaborative and supportive with each other, is why we see this world that's living in hell.
And it's changing, right? Like there's so many women rising now, and so much good things happening. Like with the Me Too movement, and we've got, I mean, the amount of events that I go and speak at or do workshops at, it's 80% women in that room, if not more, 90% women in that room that are creating their own businesses, that are creating their own economy, that are bringing sisterhood together, that are creating their own communities. Like, it's an abundance amount out there, and I think it's such a great way for us to continue to do it, more of it. Like, there's never enough. Like, Jessica could have, in the olden day, in the patriarchy kind of way, could have seen me as a competitor. I mean, what I love about what we all do is the more we do it together, the more that we see each other, the more that we support one another, the more that we can shift and make this change happen. And so it was a mutual friend of ours that said, hey, you two are doing great things. You're doing similar things in our very different own way, right? Like in our own unique way, because we're unique and we do it differently. But you two need to connect. You need to have a conversation. And we got on the phone, and this is my side of the story anyway, but we got on the phone, and straight away it was like this instant connection and soul connection with each other. Because I was like, I love what you're doing. I've heard about you before. It's awesome. And so they're just like, I want to bring you into my community and share more. And I'm like, absolutely, whatever I can do. Right? The more of those conversations we can have and support one another, the more we're going to shift the economy, the more that we'll be able to shift the politics, the more that we'll be able to shift things like, famine and so many different things. But I do believe the reminder is that this is not a man versus woman world. We still need to do this together. So it's not going from patriarchy into matriarchy. It's redefining the balance. Yeah, the connection. And this is our time. That's why so many of all of us are hearing the call and we're doing it. Yeah, it's our time, and it's exciting, and it's scary, and it's just all the things, and it's awesome.
Thank you, Christy. Don Angel, I saw that you unmuted yourself again, so we'd love to hear from you.
I think, yeah, I can definitely relate to the wounding piece, but my question had to do with, in sharing your story, there's this, and it's shifting with doing therapy. I do trauma therapy. The idea of sharing your story is kind of a vulnerable thing. You don't do that. It's self-exposure is only done if it's needed to be done. So in terms of like putting yourself out there, part of the reason why I'm doing it is because of my own trauma history. That would be a story that I would want to tell, and at the same time, it makes me nervous to talk about that.
Yeah, that's a great thing that you've raised, and it's something that comes up a lot for people. And so the way that if we don't share our story, it lives inside us, right? And there's so much power when we share our story, because we're not alone. We're never alone. There's so many that have experienced trauma in some way, shape, or form, that we need to hear from someone else that has survived it in their own way, right? So it's not playing into the victim story, it's playing into the heroine story. So it's like, if you think about the sequence of a story, right, the heroine's journey, it's like, you want to share where you are now. Like I'm just going to use survivor as an example. I'm a survivor of XYZ, and this is how I support people. This is actually, it's called The Dip, and this is from, what's her name? She calls it The Dip. Oh gosh, I can see her face in front of me. It'll come back to me. Anyway, so it's basically, if you think about a curve, so we're up here and then we go down and then we go back up. And so you're sharing your place from a powerful place up here at the start. This is who I am. This is who I support. This is why I support them. And you go down. Why I support them is because down here is where I had XYZ. Trauma, dark night of the soul, I got lost, I was bullied, I went through divorce, I had cancer, whatever it is, right? So that's our why. It's taking our story into becoming the warrior that we are, right? So you go into the dip. You've got to share that part from a vulnerable yet powerful place. And so Brene Brown talks about this all the time. Vulnerability doesn't come from a place of victimhood. It comes from a place of power. And so then as you're in the dip here, you're coming back out of the dip and finishing back up the top again, because at the top you're saying, and this is why I do what I do. This is why I support people through their journey and their evolution, so they can create the life that they want. They can have the prosperity, whatever it is that you do. And I wouldn't have been able to see the light and have that experience if I hadn't have gone through this trauma. And so therefore this trauma, this X, this Y, this Z was actually a gift in my life. So when you share it from a place of, I'm not a victim, but I did experience this, I went through this, you can't even fathom the amount of effect that has on people, either sitting in the room in front of you or out in cyberspace, the healing that takes place for people. And I share that with you because, as I said before, 9 times out of 10, people will come up to me and they say, I needed to hear that. I've experienced that. I relate to that. Thank you for sharing that. Now I can see that there's a way out, or there's a way forward, or I'm not alone in this. And for the most part, human beings, although that we feel like we need to tackle our problems on our own, we are in so much more strength when we do it together.
Well, thank you so much. That helps. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Really important point.
Changing. It's not as cold, people are looking for warmer therapists,
Absolutely. And they want to know that, they also want to know that you've walked the path.
Yes.
We want more vulnerability. We want more authenticity. The world is calling for it. People are speaking about it. They're teaching about it. We're actually been preconditioned to not be real with our emotions anymore, to put on a brave face. That's why the depression is rife in our culture, in our world. That's why suicide is one of the main causes of death. Don't quote me on that, but it's high up there, right? Because we live in this isolation of this place of that we've got to be strong and no, we don't, and we shouldn't. And that's part of being human as well. So we want to know that you've walked the path, that you're relatable, that you can understand the challenges that I've been through, that I'm going through.
I want to say one more thing about the dip, and I actually forgot. I think that we're speaking about the same thing, that's what it's called. But basically it's the high point, low point, turning point, high point.
Yep.
And
That's it.
I love that because there's a visual thing, like you can't forget it. It's like, okay, I'm going to speak from the high point and then the low point, then the turning point and then the high point. So it is that perfect dip shape. So thank you, because I totally forgot that was what it was called. And I just wanted to reiterate it because I know a lot of you are developing books or talks, and it is such an easy, you don't even need notes to remember to kind of cover that whole track. Because I have heard women, they'll go into the low point and then they don't kind of share where they've gotten to. So it's like, are you still on food stamps? Like, do I need to take care of you? Like, it's like, oh no, actually now I have a successful business. And it's like, you have to remember to share the whole journey. So I just appreciate that reminder. And it's just an visually easy thing to remember anytime you're even just interviewed on the podcast or whatever. You could just quickly in 1 minute just take them through that short little journey.
Totally.
Quickly take them through the long journey. Or you could build a whole talk about it, or you could build a whole weekend workshop.
Absolutely. So that's kind of how it fits together, my messy writing. So you start at a high. This is who I am. This is why I'm amazing and do all the things and created what I have. This is why. Because of my experience, because of my wounds, because of what I went through. And you come back up to, and that was the gift, right? And this is, again, this is how I support people on their evolution, or blah, 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 whatever it is. But that's really quick. I learned this from, I've done like a lot of different story techniques. This is one of my favorites because it is really simple and basic, and you can just draw it out and structure it really quickly. But it was, I can't remember her name. She does speak and write. She was on The Secret. I went to one of her events in Southern California. Black lady, amazing. Lisa Nichols. The Dip. She calls it The Dip. Yeah. So I want to credit her for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Dawn Angel.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I know that there anything around any branding, even maybe things that weren't talked about today, or just any. I mean, you're with the expert.
Yeah, anywhere you get stuck, or anywhere you've been stuck, or anything like that at all.
I do want to, I ask for maybe a little clarification, and you have addressed it a little bit. I think Dawn Angel also mentioned this, is that we as women do have so many stories and so many different angles that we're coming at, and so versatile. And I do sometimes feel like we get like that kind of kid in a candy store feeling when we are like starting a new business. It's like, oh, we could do this and we could do that. And we can, it's really about the importance of editing what you do and focusing. And I also like to think of it as like triangulating as another shape to talk about that. There's all these things that I do, but how do they all relate to one another? And I'm wondering if you have any exercises that really help you see how all of your differing ideas and desires really work together.
Great question. So doing all those exercises in that order will help you clarify and get to a focal point, more of a focal point. You're still going to always, particularly as women, we're going to have things that if you think about the core of the flower in the middle, we're going to have the petals that come out from what we do. But particularly if you're new in business, you definitely want to stay focused on one core thing to start with and master that. And then you can branch out. In fact, any brand, they will start with one core product first. If they do it well and they do it properly, they'll start with one core product first. They will master that product and then they will branch out, but they will wait until they master that product. The amount of brands I've worked with that have brought me in to reinvigorate their brand again and get them back on the map is because they deviated so far and wide from the core of why their consumer loves them and buys from in the first place, that they forgot the core essence and values of what their brand was. Mm-hmm. And so if you stay focused on that and really clarify that through writing down your values, through doing your vision, your mission, your story, you'll start to see the through line it will become really prominent for you. Pick that one thing and trust and know that it's going to evolve anyway. Like when I first started my business where I was focusing on helping women define their brand message, right? I had no idea that was going to lead into sister suppers. I had no idea that was part of the evolution to grow sister suppers. I look back now and I'm like, oh, universe, spirit, God, you're very tricky. You're very smart. You knew all along I needed to create this and this and that to get me to here. Right? So there's a level of trust in the process as well. But for right now, the other thing you could do is, yes, do that process that I just shared with you. The other thing that you could do is if you have 5 things that you're dabbling in, that you're excited about, that you want to play with, then do a value set system for each of those 5 individual things, for example. And then as you move through that, you'll start to see that they weave and cross over into each other anyway. And you'll be able to bring probably all those things into the center of the flower.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that. It leads so perfectly, I think, into Leah's question, which she typed into the comments, which is niche or niche. And so I wanted you to speak to that because that is a sticky point for a lot of women. It's like, what's my niche? What's my niche? But I wanted to just dovetail really quickly on what you said, because I know a lot of my coaching with a lot of the women on this call right now has been like, your only task for the next few months is to create your introductory workshop. We'll help you fill that introductory workshop and then get really good at then inviting people into your program or your circle or whatever it is, that one thing, and just get really good at, here's the thing that's awesome and fulfilling for everyone involved, and then inviting them into the next deeper thing and dialing that in. Because I see a lot of women, like, I've got my meetup group and I've got my podcast and I've got my this and my that, but they don't have the clientele that they want yet because there's so much scattered, I'm doing all these things. And it's like, so I'm just appreciating what you're saying is also in alignment with, like, just get really good at getting clients and serving clients in this
100%.
And that will lead into other bigger programs and ideas and options and opportunities. But yeah, so thank you so much for saying that. I do want to speak to this niche question, so I'll let you segue in whatever way you want to.
Yeah, so I want to reiterate that too, is that like there's so much opportunity to get out there and share our message, podcasts, YouTube, like all the things. But if you're, to what Jessica's saying, if you don't have a pool of clients or a community that you can draw from to create money, right? We need money to expand and grow and have the impact that you have. Then you're spreading your focus, and focus equals one. So again, it's so important. It's the conversation I have time and time again with people, is just focus on the one thing for right now. And this is something that Marissa Merger tried. I don't know if you know her, but she's a great online business owner. She talks about I love this. A getting started choice is better than a forever choice, because you don't know what forever is, and you don't know what path is being laid out with you for you as well. So focus on that one thing, and then you're golden. Master that one thing, get it to where you want it to be, and it's going to show you so much more. So I just want to reiterate what you're saying, because it's so important, and it's something that early entrepreneurs so easily time and time and get distracted by, that I continue to have these conversations with, and I'm like, stop it. Don't worry about the Facebook community and the likes and the Instagram and the podcast. Pick your thing and stay in that lane. So niching. Oh, niching. That. niche, whatever you want to call it. I really believe that when you get clear on who you want to show up for by the work that you want to do, your tribe chooses you. So you can throw niching out the window, right? Because all you need to know is what's the difference that you want to make. How do you want to serve people? How are you going to serve them? So whether it's through a podcast, or whether it's through a particular product, or whether it's through whatever it is, right? Through a book or whatever it is, speaking, whatever your thing is, then as long as you're clear on who you want to serve through the work that you want to do and why you want to do it, your tribe will show up for you. That's all you need to worry about.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. Yay. I've often thought that, and you just said it in such an articulate way. So thank you.
Niching,
like I haven't been able to bring myself to be like, like, but I get that in its place has to be these other pieces that you've been talking about. You can't just throw it out the window.
Yeah. The reason why people talk about niching is to help you solidify your message and your why, right? And it's also a very outdated masculine terminology that they used to use for bigger brands that were selling a product or a commodity, right? To be able to articulate, this is my avatar. She's 5'7" and she's 26 years old, and she likes to dress at shop at Neiman Marcus. And therefore now I know how to market to her, right? That's kind of niching. But when you're working in a service-based industry, when you're coming from a place where you want to support people through their evolutionary growth or healing or whatever it is, then your message matters. Your uniqueness, your values, your story, your why is what they connect with. And when you're grounded and you're really clear on that, and you remember your journey, you already have the voice. And so what happens is your language that you're looking for was you a year ago or 2 years ago, and that's where they are right now. So that's how you support them. So what often happens is people get stuck in their marketing message or their brand message because they're speaking from where they are, like where their evolutionary journey is right now, right? They're speaking in their growth and their evolutionary journey. What you need to do is go back to where you were, right? 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Remember where you were, use that language to bring your tribe in. and they'll be like, oh my God, she gets me, she understands me, she's walked the path. Does that make sense?
That's awesome. It's like big load off of shoulders. It's like, oh, I just have to be myself and communicate that.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's that simple.
Yay. Well, this has been awesome. I'm seeing like claps all around in the chat box over here. Lots of thank yous. I am definitely having the experience, as I often do on these training calls, but for sure this one of like, I wish everyone was watching it. I'm definitely going to feature it in the wisdom vault as like, watch this first before you develop your talk, before you, yeah, thank you. This is so delicious and nutritious. I just included the links that you put, the Sister Suppers link, the Yumi She Collective link. So I definitely want to encourage women to connect with those communities and check those out. And your email address as well. I love the idea of women in this community just having access to you and just reaching out if they're wanting a little more like Tiffany in their business, in their branding. Yeah, really, really incredible. We're kind of coming up at the end of time. I will take your lead, Tiffany, and do we want to take another question, or is there anything else you kind of want to leave us with, or a combination of the two?
Maybe a combination of the two. I think the one thing I'll say is that we're living in a world where we need connection more than ever, right? So we went onto this big World Wide Web online space where everyone was like, now I can connect with the world globally, and now I need 100,000 followers and fans. And at the core of it, connection starts one person at a time. Your business will continue to grow, honestly, one person at a time. Will there be a tipping point? Absolutely. There'll be a tipping point. Well, then, if that's your heart's desire, where you will start to connect with thousands and tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, but you will never, ever be able to replace that one connection, that interpersonal, that human connection ever. That will never, ever go away. So the more that you can connect with you, who you are, what drives you, why it drives you. Start sharing your authentic voice, no matter how scary it is, bit by bit, step by step. Whatever that looks like for you, whether it's on a stage, whether it's a Facebook Live, whether it's going to a networking event, whether it's asking someone to coffee. Don't underestimate the little step-by-step power that you have to make the change that you're really drawn and being pulled to do. So that was what I really wanted to finish up saying. And if there's any other, I think we've got like 7 minutes for another question if you want one more question, but that's the biggest thing. Like really honor who you are, trust in that, and continue to be supported like you are in this community with Jessica, to have your cheerleaders alongside you when times get tough, and help you celebrate the wins and the big and small wins as well, because that's how we survive. We thrive together.
You had mentioned there's a difference, or it's a 2-step process with mission statement and vision statement.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more about why one is not the same as the other, and what
yeah, so you start with your vision statement. Your vision statement is the difference you want to see. Like I like to go, the difference you want to see in the world. And so often what happens is a vision and mission statement get mashed into one.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right? And they become, for the most part, really airy-fairy and aren't grounded and don't really mean that much. When you separate them into two, it really shows, okay, I have a really big vision for the world or my community or the difference that I want to make. And this is how it's going to, and through my mission, this is how I declare they're going to bring that to life.
Perfect. That's very clear.
I know people that will share their vision and mission from the stage, right? Some people put it on their website, and some people just stick it up on their wall in front of them to remind them. It's really up to you how you share it. Like you go into some Whole Foods and they'll have their value statements there on the wall. They have them on some Whole Foods and they don't have them in others. So it's really up to you. It's for you to be grounded in what makes you valuable for the work that you do and the difference that you want to make. First and foremost, you.
That's awesome. Yeah, it becomes kind of like a sorting hat. Like, is this choice aligned? Is this client aligned? Is this collaborative?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yay!
Yay! So fun.
Yeah,
Please
so
feel free to connect with me. We have a Facebook group, Sister Supper Club. Come in there, join in with it. More community, the better, right? The more we can support each other, the better. If you have a specific question, I'm happy to support you. I know that you're in good hands with Jessica. She's brilliant. She's so highly spoken of. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity. I'm really honored that I've been invited here to share my knowledge with you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I think too with the Sister Supper thing, I'll just say I think there's opportunities to attend Sister Suppers and opportunities to host Sister Suppers as well.
There is. Yeah, we're looking for more hosts, particularly in the Bay Area actually. So if you love to host, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you around that. And then we have 8 hosts across California. We have about 10 here now in Texas. We just branched out in Mexico. We have our first host there, launching in Australia next month. And the focus is to have it across the US in all at least 20 to 30 cities and states across the US in the next 6 months. So we'd love to have you.
So amazing. Well, you are such an incredible woman, Tiffany. I'm so inspired by what you're creating in terms of global community, so needed, over women connecting over food in women's homes, so delicious. And then this other superpower of really dialing in brand in a really like soul-aligned, heartfelt way. So thank you so much. This has been so valuable. Please stay connected to us, stay connected to me in any way. And then ladies, definitely feel free to email Tiffany about anything that she spoke about today. And we'll put this video up. We'll put it with her contact information as well. So Tiffany's not going anywhere. She'll be right here. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Let's just take a deep breath together. Gratitude, gratitude.